Welcome to the March to a Million podcast with Greg DuPont, founder of the Wealth Solutions Network. In this podcast, Greg shares his journey to positively impact 1 million lives by creating an army of financially minded attorneys who embrace an expanded role in their clients' lives. Greg and his guests challenge the status quo in the legal profession and the financial services industry, and show attorneys how they can improve their lives, provide greater value to their clients, and experience greater professional satisfaction. Join us in this movement and strengthen your business by learning how to solve your clients' most pressing financial problems.
Hello and welcome to another March to a Million podcast with your host, Greg DuPont. Today, we're going to be diving into WSN. Over the last 18 months, lots of stuff has happened, and Greg just got back from a conference that he had a couple of epiphanies that he wanted to share with all of you. So, Greg, where do we begin, my friend?
So we're actually going to talk a little bit about WSN and the sister companies that I've got, and the transitions over the last year. And a mentor of mine once said to me, "Hey, Greg, really, once you learn the basis of marketing, getting clients is not the challenge. Managing the people to support the clients that's the real challenge. That's where the difficulty is. And many of our listeners, maybe single person shops like I was when I started, essentially, or maybe they've got a couple of people on their staff. And some of my lessons that I've learned over the last 18 months, and I want to share that a little bit, just how true that statement was. I've got some exciting stuff to share about where marketing is taking us with WSN as we go throughout this conversation today. But as I try to build the infrastructure to support the attorney, and as I talk to the attorneys in the network, let alone people that are prospects for the network, just that whole challenge of finding good people and getting the right people in the right seats it's the difference. It is the difference.
Well, I'm in the same boat as you are right now. I mean, we just ended up doing a pretty major hiring here at Proudmouth, and having those high quality people in the right place with the right training has been a freaking game changer for us. So what have you been doing in the firm itself?
We'll talk about the law firm. We'll talk about the financial firm. And, when I go back to, almost a year ago now, seeing where my marketing was going to take me with WSN and the support that I needed to be able to provide for the members, that put me on a path towards, okay, I've got to develop more back office support for them. And there's only so much leverage I can use with my strategic partners, and there's only so much of me. And so I had to start going down the path of, okay, how do I build out more of a planning team to support the advisors of WSN, which, that in and of itself ended up becoming more of a challenge than I thought it would be. As you try to go out and find good people, you have to balance, as you said, you just had your own hire. We always got to balance this cost and benefit on that, especially when you are building for a moving target. And my target, as we all know, is that March to Million. And I know I need to build an army of attorneys to support that, to do that, and being able to make those precise calls, the faulty crystal ball. Yeah. So we've hired a member for that team to be able to do that. And then, as I mentioned in our opening comments before we got on air, recently was at a conference where one of my strategic partners pulled back the veil on some of the stuff they had to do internally to get from where they were when I started with them to where they are now, with bringing in outside consultants as a major strategic initiative and the pain they went through. And one of the things that came from that for me was a realization that, in that room of 30, 40 of the top advisors in this company, and I'm proud to be in that room, so many of them hit that ceiling. Dan Sullivan calls it the ceiling of complexity. And they just bounce off of it, and they just can't get themselves to take to that next step. And it's having private conversations with the other guys out there that just can't get themselves to deal with that. And it all comes down to those personnel issues. And as my team expanded between the law firm, the financial firm, and WSN, significant growth in the number of heads, which means you have a significant growth in the number of head cases.
Yeah, managing people sure is a different game to play, isn't it?
It is. And I try to be a leader, try to improve in that skill set, because I try to be self-aware that I don't know everything, right? And I always have to improve. but there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
And so what I experienced last year was, so I had the WSN was moving. We knew where we were going and trying to support it, and then trying to put the energy there. And then so I had some support that I brought in, and I let go of the reins on the law practice. I stepped away from that. I had somebody that I believe was an appropriate successor for me to take over that. And long story made short, that person's no longer with me. And that forced me to kind of go back into it and retrench a little bit. So my energy had to be removed from some of the other business items that we're doing and pulled back in. And in reflection on that, it was a wrong seat on the bus kind of issue. And I want to ask you this, Matt. You've dealt with people, dealt with employees and all that stuff, and seen these issues, and you've coached people through this stuff before. How do you suggest, so someone like myself, somebody like a listener of WSN, that we have a hope and expectation that this person can fill this role for us? And sometimes that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I've done this several times over my career out of hope and maybe out of desperation.
Sure.
You map onto this person qualities that aren't really there.
And so that level of projection that you have as a business owner, because you know what you need, and if you see even a little bit of glimmer that that person might be able to fill those shoes, doesn't mean that person's going to fill the shoes. When, as a consultant, one of the things that I have said, it's very hard and fast, at the growth that you're experiencing is you need a number two. You need a person who has huge business acumen, who doesn't want to be in front of the camera, but wants to be behind the scenes and run the show. And there are very, very specific people with very specific personality traits who love to do that. That is like their, just to use a funny superhero sort of analogy here, it's, Pepper Potts to Iron Man, the Alfred to the Batman, right? Greg, you need to be the Batman and you need an Alfred. And I run into this with businesses all the time, to make it so that you can stay in the lane that you want. And once that number two is in place, that's when you hire more advisors, more attorneys, and things like that, because then you're freed up to mentor them in your specific lane that you need. That's what you're the best at. I mean, Greg, you are an amazing advisor. You're an amazing attorney, right? If I was your consultant, I'd want to keep you in that position and backfill all of the other stuff so that other attorneys and other advisors look at the Gregness and say, I'm going to start emulating that component of your life.
I'm glad to hear you say that. My second hire last year was somebody that I hired to be a salesperson. But as I got to know her, her strength is more as that number two. And one of the keynote speakers at the presentation I was at a couple weeks ago, fellow by the name of Chad Wilderson. You might know the name. He's a well-known financial advisor out there that does just incredible business. And he credits exactly that hire that you just made to his growth. And I've seen that in my office as I've kind of moved her from sales to number two and given over the reins. That is happening. And on the law side of things, I've always had a strong number two in my wife, okay, that runs that for me. And so, yeah, I think that is a key takeaway. As hard as that hire is in terms of the cost for quality people in that role, and no parent ROI if they're not doing sales, right? That makes very apparent if they're on the sales team that way, but the leverage effect on that is huge.
Well, I think it's interesting too. And you have art on your wall and you don't walk up to the art on your wall and say, why haven't you gotten me a new client? Right. This is the cost of doing business. Right. And the ultimate goal for having a number two, whether it's with the law firm, whether it's with WSN, whether it's with your advisory practice, is to free up your time as the primary rainmaker to make more rain. I have an advisor here in Kalamazoo where I live, who just brought on a servicing advisor. And then he brought on a person who actually helps him manage his book, which has given him 10 more hours in his week, Greg, to be able to go ahead and shake the trees, help more people, which I know, I mean, this podcast is called March to a Million, right? It's a lofty goal, bro. And the only person who's going to lead that charge is you.
And the next strategic partner I want to highlight from the year of transition here came to me in much as a result of all of this that we're doing. And it's really cool if you believe in this woo-woo stuff, right? About how the importance of setting the vision and the mission. You set the vision and the mission, and things fall into place as long as you stay focused on that and keep working towards it. I had recruitment goals for the year that I've not gotten anywhere near, but I had no basis in fact for what I set, right? It was just a lofty goal.
Yeah.
And, set them out there, see what happens. And continuing, as you coached me, continuing to put content out there and to stay on that message. And so my new strategic partner is somebody that is an experienced marketer. And this is what's really exciting for WSN. He came to me after studying all of my publicly available stuff, listening to all of our podcasts and getting the feel, because he wanted to focus his marketing efforts on estate planning needs. Okay? And through his market research, because of what you and I put out there and what my marketing team has put out there, he came upon my stuff and then became addicted to the cause, addicted to the mission. And because of that, he and I are now working together, and we are developing a marketing program, turnkey, front to end, for the members of WSN that is built around our messaging of essentially the middle class's office, right? The home office, or instead of the billionaires thing, the single point of responsibility, true fiduciary. How do we get those clients taken care of, and what are the problems that they need to have addressed? And the preliminary repurposing of my messaging with that experienced voice, as I was talking to a friend of mine who's also not a professional marketer, but a businessman that does a lot of marketing himself. I said, the difference between you and I as students of the marketing, and practitioners of it was apparent when he took my words, made a few changes to them, and made them so much more powerful. Yeah. And so we're on the first phase of that. I believe that we're going to be doing some beta testing of things in the second quarter of the year. And then the third quarter of the year, we're going to make it available to our members, and then we're off to the races. So there'll be a messaging that attracts clients to them. As you and I have shared on this podcast before, when I first started WSN, I didn't want to get involved in lead generation for my clients or for my members of WSN. But as I spoke to people over the last 18 months, that is such a concern of theirs that we have to address that. And now I'm excited to say that we are building out a comprehensive program that will give them not only law clients, but law clients that are inoculated in the idea that their attorney should be responsible for this stuff.
Nice.
And also messaging that is simplified from where we started, so that the attorney can be even more confident in having that conversation and how they're providing that solution to their clients. So it's a game change. We're working on it right now, and it all comes back to vision and mission and being able to get the right butt in the right seat.
Yeah, that's a big shift.
Huge shift. And the slipstream of that, right, as I was reflecting in that presentation, the planning team that I currently have, I am going to be looking for a certified financial planner to join our team, as well as on the law side with what I'm doing, I'm going to be looking to hire 2 more attorneys by the end of the year, I'm sure. And so I wanted to put that out here into my audience as well. A certified financial planner, that somebody that doesn't want to sell. I've known hundreds of these folks throughout the years. I'm sure you have as well. They love the technical nature of it, but they can't sell, period. Not comfortable with it. They love the numbers, just a different mindset. And that's what makes, I guess, humbly say people like myself different in the business, that we're able to have the technical acumen and also the connection skills. And that certified financial planner can be anybody throughout the country, right? So right now, one part of my team is in India, but I want to have somebody here as well. So I'm putting that out there, as well as lawyers. It's a little more difficult, but if anybody's local here that knows somebody in Columbus or the greater Ohio area, this is the year of liftoff for me. I've been mapping this out and realized that if you think about the launch of a rocket, the most energy is needed to get it up off the ground. And once you get that started, then it's a lot easier. And so, much like Elon Musk, I've had a few things blow up over the last couple of years, but all the testing and training gets us to where we are now, which is a spot where the rocket's ready to roll.
Well, being able to bring on a CFP and bringing on 2 more attorneys for the greater Greg DuPont cause, you're going to be able to service your existing client even better also, which allows you to continue this mission. Yeah?
Absolutely. I've been blessed with some patient clients of mine, because as I've done this, I'm not the most available guy. And my team has always been very good at taking care of the clients. There's still only so much Greg. And this is a problem that all business owners have. If they're going 100 miles an hour, sometimes they are not able to attend to some things. So it's enabling my team now to provide greater benefits to my existing clients as well, as that rising tide raises all ships.
So with all of these changes and all of that, where do you see this whole structure in 18 months?
In 18 months, with our plan, WSN, we will have preferred WSN members in 10 major metropolitan areas.
Okay.
That will be ones that are part of a high tier marketing, as well as the back office assistance that's always been part of the WSN plan and exclusivity. So we'll have 10 major markets that are covered that way, as well as mid-market and that are not fully licensed with the full package that way. And then the back office, we will need to have at least another 2 CFPs to support a group like that, as well as all of the various administrative components that go along with that. And so my core commitment to members of WSN is we serve as a bolt-on to their practice, so they don't have to bring on the administrative staff to do that. And as a happy byproduct of what we're testing to deliver to our clients, the growth on the law firm, I believe in 2 months, or by 18 months, we'll probably have 2 more offices that are coming off of that. And the whole idea for those qualified members of WSN for that premier level is we'll give you the blueprint for how I went from $100,000 law practice to X, where I will be at that point in time, which is significantly.
Yeah. Nice. All right. What should I have asked you that I didn't?
Good question, Matt. And
Thanks.
Yeah, it's almost like it's your job to ask good questions. If somebody's interested in that higher level and getting their place in line, what do they need to do? It will be
Go ahead. Tell them where they need to go.
It'll be offered first to existing members of WSN. And so if you're not a member of WSN, reach out to us and let's get the party started.
So you're going to want to go to joinwsn.com to find out more about that. If you are an existing WSN member, please make sure that you reach out to Greg. I have a feeling that these are going to fill up pretty quickly because of the products and services that you're offering are a proven business model that we both know works incredibly well. And you really are building the infrastructure to support the WSN members in a way that they're not going to feel that support elsewhere. All right. Any other closing thoughts before we wrap today up?
Look forward to our next conversation, Matt.
All right, everybody. Well, make sure you go to joinwsn.com. Also, make sure you subscribe to the show if you haven't. If you know an attorney or a financial advisor who really should listen to this, make sure that you share that with them. And if you are an attorney in the greater Columbus area or a certified financial planner anywhere here in the United States, please make sure that you reach out to Greg to find out about the opportunities that you can have to join us and help us march to $1 million. So for Greg, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Thank you for listening to the March to $1 Million podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available, and get in touch with our team by visiting our website at www.wealthsolutionsgroup.biz, or give us a call at 614-432-8065. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Wealth Solutions Network. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice from qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have.